Hey, my name's Jack, and for the 3.26 Secrets of the Atlas League for part of Exile 1, I have a build that I played on Legacy of Pressure and was a lot of fun. This time, it is a Scion Ascendant, it is a Reap spellcaster. Let me explain how this works. So, Reap is a physical spell which creates a scythe which does physical damage on hit and physical damage over time. The more you cast it, you gain blood charges, which gives more life cost. The ability costs life and more damage per blood charge. So we will be using the Wrath Pike Globe, which gives critical strike chance and increased spell damage per 100 player maximum life, and most importantly, the Apostate, which gives gain maximum life instead of maximum energy shield from equipped armor items. This will result us in stacking life, which will be the brunt of our damage, and at the same time make us also very tanky with our huge life pool. Another important item is Dissolution of Flesh. This will give life that would be lost by taking damage instead reserved until you take no damage to life for 2 seconds. This is especially good when using it together with Eternal Youth, as we don't have any energy shield because of the Apostate. It goes all converted to life, and Eternal Youth applies energy shield recharge to life instead, which is 33% of your maximum life per second. That's huge. This also works together with Wicked Ward if it doesn't want to get interrupted. But the way this works together with Dissolution of Flesh, it won't get interrupted because Dissolution of Flesh reserves your life, right? You can further get a huge defensive layer by using Dissolution of Flesh together with Petrified Blood and stuff like Progenesis and Defiance of Destiny. Specifically, Petrified Blood is very good, as Petrified Blood allocates or reserves 50% of your life, but Dissolution of Flesh reserves not the life after the remaining 50%. It will actually reserve the life that is actually reserved from Petrified Blood. If you want to know more about that, I left a link in here where you can read up on the Wikipedia how exactly it works. But specifically, it's a huge damage decrease and like a big defensive layer. So let's go over the tree. We are a Scion. Let's take a look at the Ascendancy first. There's a lot of options actually here. You can go for the Trick Shot, which most importantly gives 2% more damage for each different type of mastery you have allocated, giving us like 1.6 million DPS. And also, nearby enemy or monster's action speed is at most 92% of base value. So this is actually really huge, as it slows down the monsters around you significantly, making like a soft layer of defense basically, where monsters don't run up on you as fast as they can. Deadeye is also very good. It gives permanent tailwind and gain a frenzy charge every 6 seconds while moving. This node alone gives 2.9 million damage increase, and together with frenzy charges, it's actually huge. So if you want to, you can totally go over it instead of Trickster. And another one is Berserker. This one gives 50% more damage, which is a huge amount, right? The 5% increased damage take is not that bad, as we do have a lot of EHP and life pool. Another one you can go for is Necromancer, and the reason for this is it gives specifically your offering skills also affect you. And what you will do then, you will have something like Bone Offering or Flesh Offering, and this will help you a lot when specifically Bone Offering will give you a lot of block chance, which will give you effective hit pool, right? So now we have 250k just from having Bone Offering active, and Flesh Offering will give you even more damage. And the last one is Hierophant, which will give you permanent Akin Surge, which gives you 10% more spell damage. But I think the other ones, specifically Deadeye and Necromancer, are better. So, looking at the tree, we will go for all life nodes we possibly can, and as many jewel nodes as well as we can. So we'll start here in the Ascendancy Scion wheel, and we will get all of these life nodes. We'll get Eternal Youth, Iron Will for some extra damage as we have a good amount of strength. And these life nodes, these block nodes, this mastery is actually really important because we can hit 100% chance of avoid being stunned, specifically with a flask suffix and a jewel, hypnotic eye jewel. We will go over here, we will get these life nodes, this jewelry node, all of these life nodes, right? Go over here, take the shield mastery, which gives us this really nice spell block chance. This reservation meal is really important. We're using 3 auras. We get a ton of crits, so we're going for crit, right? So arcane potency, which gives us spell critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier. Then this arcane side shield for more spell damage and spell block, life, jewelry. We go all the way over here. We get Whispers of Doom, which gives us additional curse. Using 2 curses, Assassin's Mark and Vulnerability. And then over here, this 4 maximum energy shield and life wheel for even more life and damage. It's pretty straightforward. That is the skill tree. Let me go over the skill gems. You're probably already wondering why do you have 3 Reap gems in here? It's to correctly calculate the damage of Reap, because if you would use the count feature, it counts Vaal Reap as well, which is incorrect. So Reap can overlap with Awakening Spell Cascade. Specifically Awakening Spell Cascade, not the normal Spell Cascade, because Awakening Spell Cascade gives you front, behind, and each side. So there's a sweet spot which will overlap all 3 Reaps, 3 out of 4. So you can hit 3 out of 4 Reaps. If you're interested, there's I left a calculator in the notes as well where you can look at that and how it works. Other than that, the gems are pretty straightforward. Brutality gives the most physical damage, concentrated effect, and awakening power for skill gem levels on Reap. And of course, increased critical damage as we are crit build, and awakening spell cascade for a set for the overlap. We'll be using Pride. You might think there's no way monsters will ever come into your range of Pride. Disappoint you. Pride is pretty much screen wide, so as long as the monster not on these outer skirts, which is not green, they will be in the Pride from top to bottom of your screen, and they will be affected by the really nice Pride aura, which gives at least 20% more physical damage and raising up to 41%. So that is more physical damage, which is of course always nice. Summon Skitterbots mostly for the shock, which gives us good damage boost. The chill is also really nice to slow down monsters. And Determination, you can swap this out for Petrified Blood, as I said before, to add another layer of defense. Defense setup, casting damage taken with Immortal Call for a huge EHP pool. Use Enduring Cry. I think it's better to self-cast Enduring Cry to get the maximum amount of endurance charges, which you can then automatically use with Immortal Call, right? This is an empty or pretty much an open 4-link. I put in here a bunch of wall skill gems, which can be useful for Righteous Fire and Wall Haste, add some damage, and the Boner thing for Necromancer if you took it. Replace one of these with Desecrate if you take the offering. And Vaal Discipline is actually helpful because it removes the interruption of energy shield recharge or from Eternal Youth, so you can use that. If you're mapping very quickly, you can probably have this up almost permanently. Then Arcanus Brand, a lifetime Assassin's Mark. We cannot use Mark on hit, and I can show you exactly why. Spellcasters cannot use Mark on hit because it specifically says when you hit a rare or unique enemy with an attack. We cast spells, we don't attack. This would probably work on a Wander. We're not a Wander. We're a spellcaster, so we can certainly use that, as nice as it is. So we'll be using a Arcanus Brand with Lifetime Assassin's Mark to apply it that way. The Assassin's Mark will give us power charges on slain monsters. This way, you pretty much have always power charges and additional crit multiplier and power critical strike chance increase. And then lastly, Flame Dash, fast arcane search, right? Flame Dash is always really good, especially against bosses, as it's instant if you don't spam it. If you don't like Flame Dash and you find it a little bit too slow, you can use Shield Charge. I'm personally not a fan. I'm fine with the movement speed. And lastly, vulnerability comes from a Warlord influence ring with vulnerability on hit. Let's look at the items. Pretty straightforward. Try to get these modifiers. If they're all not there, it's not that bad, right? You can only ever go up. Most importantly is double +1 into spell damage. Global critical strike multiplier you can just craft on if you need to. Then, as I said, Wrathpite Globe gives increased critical strike chance for spells per 100 player maximum life, 5% increased spell damage per 100 player maximum life. So this will be the brunt of all damage. Basically, you sacrifice 10% of your life and use or trigger a spell is not that bad. As you can see, we have a ton of life leech and life regen. And then the rest of the stats on it are also really nice. Then, very important here is increased mana reservation, efficiency of skills. If you roll badly on this, you might need this Enlighten. Otherwise, you can honestly just leave it out. There's nothing really in here which has a really high mana cost, which you would need it for. Other than that, try to get as much energy shield on this as possible because of the Apostate converting it to life, right? So straight up, as much energy shield and life as you possibly can. The other modifiers are actually not that important. That is the only things that matter. Same with the gloves and the boots. Specifically here, very important is the physical damage leech as life implicit. Try to get this as early as possible. This is the only life leech source we have, and getting life leech on spell is extremely hard. So this will be the life leech source, and it scales quite well, as you can see. Then again, energy shield, maximum life, unnerve for some extra damage and resistances. These boots are really helpful as we're using Storm Shroud. This will give us elemental ailment immunity, so we're immune to all ailments. So we get 50% chance to avoid being shocked, and then another 30% from the other implicit, which puts us at really nice 80. And then down here we have an hypnotic eye jewel, which gives chance to avoid being shocked. So when we look over here, as you can see, we're immune to all of the ailments: shock, freeze, chill, ignite, sap, brittle, scorch. Those are all of the elemental ailments which we just avoid because of that. And again, energy shield, maximum life. Ashes of the Star. This is the best in slot, like amulet. There's honestly nothing better. The quality of all skill gems is simply so good. Like nothing else scales it. Even if you would use a red amulet, it would need to be so good that it's beyond mirror worthy. So Ashes of the Star, it's about 1 divine. It's pretty cheap every league. You can get it pretty early. It's a really good unique, and we have allocated from Anoint Mark for Death. This gives us Culling Strike for marks, specifically our Assassin's Mark. Really helpful for monsters with lots of HP and bosses, right? 10% Culling Strike. As you can see, it's a good amount actually. These rings, as I said before, Warlord ring with curse and with vulnerability and hit. Try to get as much life as possible, and Vermilion rings are important with increased maximum life. The other one doesn't really matter. Try to hit chaos resistance if possible. Then we will need to use Stick Vice for this hypnotic eye jewel, right? So we hit chance to avoid being shocked to all elemental ailments. And then we hit chance to avoid being stunned, which we hit 100% with a shield mastery and this silver flask suffix. So while having the silver flask on, we were pretty much stun immune. The Stick Vice itself, if you're missing chaos rolls on this one, try to get it here, or resistance rolls. Other than that, increased blast duration is really nice, and big life roll, of course. Flask, really straightforward. Granite Flask with increased armor during effect for his maxed effective hit pool, right? Silver Flask, just explained. Sulfur Flask with even bleed immunity and maximum charges to be permanent bleed immune. Try to have this up at all times. The Diamond Flask for the crit, otherwise we won't reach 100%, right? The Amethyst Flask is early on really nice to fix chaos resistance. Try to reach as high as possible with this. And the immunity to poison, of course, which is not an elemental ailment, so we'll be avoiding poison through this flask. Dissolution of Flesh, I already explained, but I can also say that it gives 28% more maximum life, so high damage increase and high life increase. And it also removes all energy shield, which doesn't matter because Apostate already converts all of the energy shield before that. Storm Shroud, this is the item that gives us basically immunity to all elemental ailments. Very nice. Get this. And these cobalt jewels don't even need to be exactly like this. There's a bunch of things, but most importantly is increased maximum life and the global critical strike multiplier. The rest is not that important. It could be block chance. It could be any kind of damage modifiers. As long as you have those two, it's fine. And then the Watcher's Eye. Watcher's Eye is pretty much straightforward. Pride is by far the best, and chance for double damage, increased physical damage. If you have Determination, you can go for additional armor, additional block, physical damage reduction, reduce extra damage on crits. But I think physical damage reduction and additional block is by far the best one on here, if you want to take that. So that is pretty much the mid-game setup. This game, you can play this as a league starter. Scion Reap with Corrupting Fear is actually very popular and always been popular. You maybe not have a Wrathpipe Globe. It's a bit expensive on League Start. After like a week or something, it will cool down and you can buy it for like 20 chaos. But if you drop it before then, it's completely fine. You can drop it. It drops anywhere. You can get it from divination cards. You can chance it, right? So look out for titanium shields if you want something to spam your orb of chance on. You might also get lucky with some good titanium shields you can sell. Other than that, the tree is pretty much the same. It removes some nodes that are not that important, right? The items, as you can see, they're all really early items that you can pretty much craft or just get very easily. Nothing really stands out. As I said again, try to get this physical damage lead as early as possible. Even the 0.2% implicit from the lowest Ether Ichor is really worth it. Like that alone, already it's like 500. Other than that, like all the items are like super straightforward and very cheap. Let's go to the end game setup. So the absolutely min-maxed, well, not absolutely, but what it will look like in the end game. The damage is actually pretty good, as you can see. So let's start with the tree. The tree is pretty much the same. Physical mastery for some extra damage, and this jewelry slot, this life wheel down here. Then 1 point into retribution, which gives a good amount of damage. The shield mastery with 1 chance to block spell damage per 5% chance to block attack damage, which will put us at really nice block cap, 78%. This reservation or some skills have a 10% increased effect on you. This critical master is really nice. You take 30% reduced extra damage from critical strikes, so this increases EHP by actually a good amount, even if it doesn't look like it. You don't want to get one-shotted by a crit. And we go over here, this jewel slot, and down here we take this critical strike multiplier. Is really nice that Doom cast and the other nodes in this wheel give, together with this influence node with increased mana reservation and aura effect, actually gives a lot of damage as well. And this mastery actually has 2 really good masteries in here. One is the reduced extra damage from critical strikes by cursed enemies, and the other one is the non-cursed enemies you inflict non-aura curses on are blinded for 4 seconds. So this will give you some survivability as well. But I think the 40% reduced extra damage is just better. For the items, let's go over those first. Pretty much like endgame crafted items, right? As you can see, like not a lot of big changes. Global critical strike, cast speed, spell damage, and the +2. Here, just try to get higher resistance rolls so you can get better rolls on the rings and the other items, right? Gloves, if you have strength decks are in problems, you can pretty much fix them over crafts on these 2 items over here. Boots pretty much stay the same. Increased energy shield recharge rate does apply to Eternal Youth, so that's a really nice roll as well. And try to get global critical strike multiplier on your rings if possible, and highlight Chaos Rest. So you would need either Warlord or Elder influence to hit global critical strike multiplier, but it's worth it together with cast speed. Especially cast speed is very good. High damage increase. Then a Hunter, Stygian Vice, you can slam a Hunter Orb on the Stygian Vice and on Stygian Vice on a high level one and roll it a bit to gain a flash charge when you deal critical strike. We always deal critical strikes, so we have permanent infinite flash charges. We can just have a flash up at all times this way. And the rest pretty much stays the same. There's nothing really that changes on these. Down here, Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh. So let's go over to the Ascendancy. As I said before, I think Necromancer is the best with Flesh Offering and Bone Offering. I specifically went for Bone Offering to get this huge EHP pool. You can go also for some of the other stuff, right? If you have Deadeye, like Trickster, Hierophant. Those are really nice options as well for some damage increase, especially Trickster. That there's a lot of allocator masteries actually adds like a huge amount of damage. So if you're more interested in that over the Deadeye or the Necromancer. Let's look at the skill gems for the endgame setup. It's pretty much the same. Vaal Reap. It's possible to get a 2120 Vaal Reap gem. The way that you do it is you get a 2020 Reap gem and you go and do incursions and you roll the sacrifice unique, not the sacrifice unique, the corruption room, the max one, and that one gives you double corruption, right? So you need to hit the conversion to a Vaal gem, and you need to hit the +1 on the gem. That is the way you would get this. But if you find that too convoluted or you don't want to do it because you don't like incursion, I mean, it's not that important, right? The damage is already enough. Awakened Brutality is just the most damage. It also gives Crush, which is really nice. Then Awakened Spell Cascade already explained, overlaps the damage. Awakened Empower, biggest damage increase together with Concentrated Effect. So, and then as you can see, we hit like 51 million. If we go over here and turn on these like extra stuff, you can also turn on use Vaal Haste, but use it at a lower level so you don't run into dexterity requirements problem. So that way you can use that as well. It's actually a good damage increase as well because it gives a ton of cast speed, and the movement speed is also quite nice that it gives if you want to use that. Other than that, pretty much everything stays the same. You can try to hit 21 gems of these. Not that big of a challenge, honestly. The rest pretty much stays the same. There's nothing big increase here. This should be your main concern. If you're really lucky, you get a level 5 Awakened Power with a Corruption. I wouldn't do it. I'm not that risky of a person. And that is pretty much the build. This build has been fun for a while. I really like this build in Fesher, and I'm probably gonna play this again. And then with 3.26, I'm gonna be uploading 2 more videos. If you like, leave a like, leave a subscribe. See you around.